So let's talk color swatches. We've been talking about color a lot throughout this course, and a lot of times we just went with the default values whenever we assigned color. However, color goes a lot more in depth, and you can create your own sort of palettes and color schemes so that you can, make sure that your document is all the same color, and you can customize it to whatever color you want. So let's just create a little example, and we'll talk through it as we go. So let's create some text. And you'll notice that whenever we create this text, I'm going to just create a box and then go into fill with placeholder text. You'll notice that if we ever try to change the color of this text, that we can double click down here into the text, the color icon, and then it'll bring up this panel called color. So let's open this up and let's expand it out. And you'll see that what we have in color is it isn't actually a really big panel. There's no way to make this bigger because this is it. This is all we have to work with. So if we make this really large, you'll see that right now it's got the color black selected, where the C, M, Y, and K are, well, the first three are 0 and the last is 100. And that's because that means that cyan is 0, magenta is 0, and yellow is 0, while the K stands for black. The black is at 100. And that's what we have right here. And you'll notice that if we move this scale, all it's going to do is it's going to move around the K value. But let's say we wanted to add our own color in here. So what we could do is we could double click on here, and then now we can adjust the color value in here. What if, though, that we wanted to create, let's say, a red color? You'll notice that there isn't really any red, except maybe if you go down here. And that is because what we're doing is when we go through this space, this is adjusting our greens and blues, while this value right here is adjusting our reds. So it gets a little bit confusing because actually almost every single other Adobe program has just sort of a RGB color scheme way of choosing colors, which is just all the colors are right here and you can kind of just move it around and find your color. But on this one, whichever slider you select, which are these three dots right here, will select the color over here. So if you notice, if we move around like so, we can, let's say we wanted to go with this red, but now if we bring down the red values, it'll actually change the entire color, because now once the red goes to 0, all we have left is 49 green and 33 blue, which creates this sort of dark greenish teal color, I guess you could say. And we can, kind of move this around. We can move these experimentally and just find the color that we want. So let's say that we wanted to end it up with this pink here. So if we click OK, it's going to create that pink. But now, if we go and we create another document, so let's say we create another text box here, we start typing, you'll notice that there's no way we can get back to that pink color. It's just not saved anywhere. So what we can do is we can actually create a color swatch for that color. So we can go up to here, and all you have to do to create a color swatch is just to have the color selected. So go to whatever color you created and highlight something or click on the area if the entire thing is that color. And you'll notice that down here our color changes to that pink value. And now what we can do is we can open up the swatches panel like so. So let me just throw that down here so we can see them both at the same time. And you'll notice that whenever something's lit up, we can create a new swatch. So if I click this button, it's going to create this swatch with those values that we went with, which are cyan of 7, magenta of 80, yellow 0, and black 0. And that creates this shade of pink. So now let's say that we wanted to create ourselves a paragraph style. So let me open up the paragraph styles here. Let's break this out of what all of these are, and let's drag this one to right there. And so now we have this big list of these different things going. But let's say we wanted to create ourselves a new paragraph style. So what we could do is let's create ourselves a new one. You'll notice that I actually can't touch this, so I'm actually going to put this up next to the swatches. And if we create ourselves a new one of the options here in paragraph style 2 is to change the color. But you'll notice that when we get into here, what it wants us to do is actually choose a swatch. And that's another reason that you'd want to save your swatches into the swatch panel, is because they're easier to select once you get into styles. If you go into here and try to change the colors, it's going to be a little bit more difficult than that other value, because you don't have that sort of that square where it's going to have the grid of you changing all the colors at once. You're going to have to individually create these colors, which kind of adds a lot of imagination into it, because our minds don't know how to add cyan, magenta, and yellow together to create colors. So what you actually usually want to do is create the color over here in the color panel, then save it as a swatch, and then when you create your paragraph style, then you can choose your swatch over here. So now if we create a paragraph style of this color, so we can just go pink text, click OK on that. Now once we go down here, we can just click on pink text and it's going to use our swatch. Or we can do the inverse. We could just select this as a whole, go into our swatch and click on it, and it'll do the exact same thing. The swatches panel also has a couple of organizational features. So if you click the new one, you can actually create a color group. So let's say this is This is important to us. Let's call this like working document or something like that, some name for this, and we can save all the colors that have to go with this. A better name, maybe if we had a website, might be like website colors, because a lot of times websites will have a certain color scheme, maybe 4 or 5 colors, and this will allow us to keep those exact colors throughout the entire document. So let's say we had this red in here, it also had this green, and it had this blue. So now anytime we work with the website, we can just go ahead and open this one up and choose different colors to make sure everything is looking good. So, we could say like, if we wanted certain highlighted words to have this green color, we could go in here, drop the red on that one, and then go into here and drop the green onto that one, and we'll keep with the same color palette the whole time. So I just kind of wanted to go over that aspect of Adobe InDesign. It isn't critical to InDesign, but it helps you a lot. It helps you keep the same colors and the same patterns throughout your work. There's a couple different features here, so I'm just going to kind of list what we just did, try to clarify everything up again. So basically all we did was we created a color using the color tab up here. So all you got to do is double click the fill button right there, and you can kind of choose your own color. Whatever's selected here is going to be the one that is on this bar, and everything else is going to be over into this area. Once we like the color that we want, once we think it looks good, all we have to do is have that color selected over here, which is exactly the same as selected up here, and we can click the create new swatch button. It's going to save that swatch for us, and in the future we can use it. It'll even go cross projects, which means that if you open up another project, these website colors are going to be open right like so, and you can create multiple projects with these 4 colors. And then in the styles feature and a whole lot of different features, even just up here, you can see that the shading, it uses swatches and not actually the color down here. So it's going to allow you to easily access those colors and create some adjustments a whole lot easier.